You've probably noticed that we're living and working through uncertain times. We're dealing with on again, off again tariffs, political unrest, geopolitical tensions, and more, all of which seems to sway financial markets and leadership decisions on a daily basis. On this episode of Conversations with MarTech, we're going to discuss how marketing leaders can lead their teams through economic uncertainty and work toward achieving their goals, even when they're impacted by events that are largely beyond their control. And to help us navigate this journey through uncertainty, we're joined by an award-winning marketer who has experience leading and transforming marketing organizations.
My name is Lisa Cole, and I'm the CMO and head of our AI Center of Excellence here at 2X. 2X is a global B2B marketing managed services firm. And effectively, when I think about my background, I've spent about 16 years as a CMO advisor, working as a marketing strategist for many leading B2B agencies. And then after 16 years, I decided I was tired of advising others and wanted to practice what I preach. So I decided to actually become a practitioner. I have now I'm in my fourth CMO role at this point.
Speaking of impossible problems,
Yes.
without giving away too much of how long either of us have been in this business, there have been a number of economic slowdowns in the past 25 to 30 years. You got the dot-com crash, you got the 2008 crisis in there. What, if anything, makes this tariff uncertainty and economic uncertainty that we're going through right now and the market's reaction to it, what makes it different from those?
Well, I think first, when I think about what makes it different is it puts pressure both on cost internally for a company, but it also simultaneously pushes on, the sell side, the growth side. So the companies themselves that you'd be selling to pause or hesitate on their purchasing decisions. So you're getting both revenue and cost pressure. But regardless of that dynamic, every downturn may look different on the surface, but they all reveal the same truth. Some companies decide that they're going to slow down their investments. They're intentionally going to shrink. And other companies see that hesitation as real opportunity and they lean in and seize those opportunities, right? The companies that lean in when those competitors retreat are usually the ones that capture market share. They have the V-shaped recovery and they build that long-term competitive advantage. But those that shrink, particularly if they cut their go-to-market engine, they suffer. They suffer for much longer than they need to. And we saw that for sure during the pandemic.
Is there a playbook here? What's the first thing that marketing leadership should do when there's signs of hard times coming?
They should get their house in order, if it's not in order already. And what I mean by that is audit your operating model today. What's fixed? What's not fixed? What are the flexible investments you have? What's working and what's not working, obviously. But then from there, prepare 3 strategic scenarios that take into consideration 2 things. During an economic downturn, sometimes a company will change its business strategy, will change its business priorities. Perhaps it's from new logo acquisition and market share at all costs to let's actually just focus on our existing customer base and mine the gold that's there and expand within those customer relationships. Evaluate if there is a shift in the business strategy, what marketing's role, what the implications for marketing's role and enabling that shift in that strategy. And so you should have scenarios where if a company does make a business strategy change, marketing understands what it needs to do differently to support that. Secondly, the other half of that is have 3 scenarios where you are delivering cost savings to the company. But with that, you also have to be able to articulate, well, what are the implications of those cost savings? And not every marketer has done a really good job at communicating what that long-term impact will be in a way that feels defensible to a CFO. So 3 scenarios, not just cost cutting, but also investment shifts to align with the business strategy.
Right. And time is of the essence here, right? Like you mentioned the audit. If you've got that audit done, you do it regularly,
Right.
then when hard times come, you're kind of a step ahead of those who are like, oh, we need to do an audit to figure out where we are.
Right. If you are paying attention, if you have a solid operational plan that gets built out annually and you have a quarterly review process, as shifts like this happen, really those questions that, you'd surface in an audit, you're already monitoring.
Right.
And from there, you can use your time instead of actually digging in to figure out what's happening in the business or in the business of marketing. You can actually use that time brainstorming those 3 scenarios.
So let's talk about budgets, because you a minute ago kind of alluded to talk about budgets. There's probably this temptation to, I'm going to slash across the board, 15%, whatever it is.
Right.
What's your advice on making cuts that do what they need to do on the financial side, but that they maintain the ability to drive the demand and build the brand?
Well, I think cutting is it's not a strategy, but what is what's your investment strategy? How are you reallocating? No different than the tariffs, were announced, and all of us were looking at our investment portfolios, our stocks, and a little bit worried about what was happening. And some of us made decisions in that moment to reinvest in a place either to safeguard those dollars, the sure bets, the less risky bets. We leaned in on reallocation. That's what the marketer should be thinking about, not 15% across board. If you've got to deliver a cost savings that's a particular percentage or a number, look within your portfolio, within your budget, and reevaluate where you should be shifting your investments to. Again, based on if there's a shift in the business strategy and marketing's role to support that is changing, it's reallocation. So through that, you can also look at, understanding where spend delivers short-term pipeline versus long-term brand equity. Those usually, if the CFO and the CEO and your peers have visibility into how you've invested previously, they might call into question anything that feels brand related. You should be in a position to articulate, well, if I slow that piece down, this is what this looks like 2 to 3 quarters out. And talking about brand in understandable terms, financial terms, helps the CFO. You can't just say, hey, brand loyalty will shift. And you can talk about audience growth shrinking. You can talk about engagement in target accounts shrinking. You can talk about the average deal size or your ability to land and expand. You can frame it in that way, but you've got to be able to differentiate those two and then speak to the implication and the timeline. And data helps, obviously. COVID taught us a pretty hard lesson, right? And that brands that stayed visible rebounded faster. So
let's talk about teams. I think outsourcing is one option that's always been there. If you're short on resources, if you need to save money in that area. But one thing that sets this latest economic uncertainty apart from some of the earlier ones we talked about is the presence of AI. And that can help us with efficiency and with automation. What else do leaders need to think about in terms of their teams in these times?
Earlier, I mentioned, getting your house in order. Part of that is understanding your operating model. And with that, when you think about, difficult times or downturns, if you will, you can start to understand, well, where are the opportunities that I can create leverage within my budget by making shifts? What do I decide to keep in-house? What's a source of competitive advantage for us? Brand, positioning, messaging, campaign strategy. What are the things that I don't need to be the best at, but best practices matter? There's an execution layer there where best practices do matter. But you can outsource it without undermining the company's ability to maintain its advantage. And then there's another layer of work within that operating model that's really day-to-day repetitive task execution that AI is already proven. It can not only execute the task reliably, consistent output, but it's already advanced now to where it can execute a series of repeatable tasks with minimal human oversight. And so if you have a clear understanding of your operating model, back to that audit, and and you have a point of view of what really should be kept in-house and what could be moved to an alternate solution. And then within that, you think, okay, well, there are workflows, there are more sophisticated work within that execution that isn't easily automatable with AI. That should be strategically outsourced, preferably with a partner that actually is already AI forward. And then there's a whole layer of day-to-day execution work that might have gone to a BPO before, maybe list building, data enrichment, account enrichment, that kind of work. That should be fully automated with AI. So.
All right. Lucy Cole, CMO of 2X. Thanks for joining us on Conversations with MarTech.
Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it.